The room was silent as he pushed the chips to the center of the table and, with a confident smile, made the bet that drew laughter from everyone around. It wasn't money, it wasn't a car, it wasn't anything ordinary. He promised an entire mansion, as if it were just another disposable chip, certain that this game was already won. On the other side of the table, the simple man kept his gaze steady, his hands calm, while everyone whispered, judged, and awaited the obvious outcome. No one there believed he had any chance. The atmosphere was one of impending humiliation, of a social spectacle, of someone about to lose everything before an audience. But what no one noticed was the silent detail in that look, the excessive calm amidst the arrogance, because at that moment the bet wasn't just a mansion, it was reputation, pride and destiny being put on the table. And the turnaround was about to happen. Before we delve into this amazing story, tell me which city and state you're watching from. Leave a comment and I'll reply with gratitude. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and like this video. We want to share more stories like this. The room where the game would take place was not only luxurious, it was carefully constructed to intimidate, with high walls, soft lighting, and well-dressed people forming a semicircle around the poker table, as if they were there to watch a pre-arranged spectacle. At the center of this scene was the host, known for his fortune, his extravagant bets, and the constant certainty that he never lost. Someone accustomed to turning games into public displays of power. He laughed loudly, distributed chips like crumbs, and made comments that easily elicited laughter from the guests, all certain that this night would end exactly like the others. On the other side of the table, almost out of place in that environment, was the simple man, with a discreet posture, attentive gaze, clothes too ordinary for that room, hands resting calmly on the green felt, observing every movement without haste, like someone who had nothing to prove to anyone there. From the very first moment, the surrounding glances had already decided who was the winner and who was merely part of the fun. And this was clear in the whispers, the restrained smiles, and the way some guests leaned in to get a better look at the simple man's expression, expecting to find nervousness, fear, or regret, but finding only silence and concentration. The game began lightly, small bets, cards being dealt, and the host played flamboyantly, raising the stakes unnecessarily, making a point of showing that money was no object, while provoking, asking if the other was comfortable, if they understood the rules well, if they had participated in something like this before, always with a tone that mixed false cordiality and assumed superiority. The simple man answered little, just enough, keeping the game clean, paying when necessary, backing down when it made sense, without trying to impress, which only increased everyone's conviction that he was there only to lose politely. As the rounds progressed, the atmosphere in the room slowly changed, not because the host was at a disadvantage, but because something in that persistent calm was beginning to bother him. A tranquility that didn't suit someone supposedly cornered. Yet the laughter continued, the bets increased, and the host made a point of announcing each raise aloud, as if narrating his own victory ahead of time. At a certain point, surrounded by applause and encouragement, he leaned back in his chair, looked at the guests, and decided to take the game to another level, saying that this match deserved something bigger, something worthy of the place and the people present. It was then that, with a calculated gesture, he placed on the table the promise that would completely change the course of the evening, offering an entire mansion as the final wager, not as a real risk, but as a public provocation, certain that he was facing someone incapable of sustaining such a challenge. The room erupted in reactions, laughter, expressions of shock and admiration, cell phones discreetly raised, as everyone awaited the simple man's reaction, certain that this was the moment he would back down, ask to leave, or accept defeat prematurely. But the opposite happened, because he simply took a deep breath, looked at the cards, then at the host, and with a serenity that silenced the atmosphere for a few seconds, agreed to continue. This simple gesture changed the energy of the room, not explicitly, but like an almost invisible crack in something that seemed too solid, and yet no one there believed that this decision could lead him anywhere beyond ultimate humiliation. The following rounds became more tense. The host began to play more aggressively, trying to force mistakes, bluff excessively, and raise bets simply to intimidate, while the simple man continued to read the table, observing reactions, memorizing patterns, noticing details that went unnoticed by most. This was reflected in the way he bet, always at the right moment, without fanfare, without haste. Some chips changed sides, nothing that truly threatened the host, but enough to reduce the laughter and increase the attentive glances, because for the first time, that game didn't seem completely predictable. The host, annoyed, began to provoke more frequently, speaking loudly, reminding everyone who he was, what he possessed, what was at stake, trying to reaffirm his position of control, while the simple man remained firm, letting the other reveal himself round after round. The mansion, which at first was just a promise thrown to the wind, now loomed over the table like a symbol of pride, and the more the host spoke about it, the clearer it became that this wager represented much more than a material possession. It was the public certainty that he could not lose. And there, at that table, surrounded by expectations, judgments, and anxious glances, the game ceased to be just cards and chips, transforming into a silent confrontation between arrogance and control, appearance and reading, noise and silence, preparing the ground for something that no one in that room was truly ready to see. The hall was spacious, elegant, full of details that betrayed power and excess, but none of that seemed to intimidate the simple man seated at the poker table. He occupied the chair with discreet posture, back straight, hands resting calmly, like someone who didn't need to prove anything to anyone. Around him, the atmosphere pulsed with expectation. Well-dressed people circulated, glasses clinked, laughter arose too easily, always laden with superiority. The sheik, owner of the place and the spectacle, sat on the other side of the table with absolute confidence. His gestures were broad, sure, almost theatrical. He spoke loudly, laughed even before the cards were dealt, and made a point of reminding everyone that this game was nothing more than entertainment for him. From the first minute, the atmosphere was set, a game created to humiliate, not to compete. The first round started lightly, with small, almost symbolic bets. The sheik conducted the table as if leading a social conversation, betting high effortlessly, pushing chips towards the center as if they had no weight at all. Each partial victory was accompanied by ironic comments, glances at the audience, and shared laughter. The simple man, in contrast, played little, observed a lot. He spoke almost nothing. When he lost a round, he accepted it serenely. When he won, he simply collected the chips and continued in silence. This, to the observers, was interpreted as fear, insecurity, perhaps even a lack of skill. Comments began to emerge in hushed voices, then not so hushed. They said he wouldn't last long, that the mansion bet was just a cruel joke about to come true. The sheik quickly sensed the tension and decided to speed things up. He raised the stakes, provoked, and joked about betting amounts the other could never match. At one point, he leaned forward and suggested the man give up while he still had his dignity. He said he didn't want to be remembered as someone who destroyed a man in public. The table laughed. The audience reacted with expressions of approval. It was the kind of elegant humiliation that didn't seem like aggression, but was all the more painful for it. The simple man listened to everything in silence. He didn't look away. He didn't respond to the provocation. He just kept playing. As time passed, something subtle began to change. The sheik, though still confident, began to lose small consecutive rounds. Nothing alarming, nothing that compromised his composure, but enough to break the comfortable rhythm. He began to speak less, to laugh less, to observe the man in front of him more closely. He realized that the silence wasn't empty. It was calculation. It was reading. Every movement of the simple man seemed laden with intention. He didn't bluff excessively. He didn't rush. He didn't show emotion. Meanwhile, the sheikh began to make small mistakes, impulsive bets, decisions that were too quick, as if wanting to end a situation that had ceased to be fun. Tension grew when the mansion wager returned to the table, now seriously, not as a joke, but as a real possibility. The room fell silent. The audience drew closer. This was no longer just any game. The simple man accepted the wager without hesitation. There was no verbal challenge, no speech, just a nod. The sheikh smiled, but this time the smile wasn't one of amusement. It was one of disguised nervousness. He still believed he was in control, but for the first time he began to feel something rare: doubt. The decisive round began with seemingly unfavorable cards for the common man. The comments returned, now more confident. Some were already celebrating prematurely. The sheikh bet high, pressing, trying to force a mistake. The common man followed suit, with his usual calm. No reaction, no sign. When the last card was revealed, silence filled the room. The common man had won. Not by obvious luck, not by a miraculous stroke, but by a combination built with patience, reading, and precision. The table remained motionless. The sheikh stared at the cards for a few seconds longer than necessary, as if expecting them to change. But they didn't. The impact wasn't just financial, it was moral. The audience, once noisy, was now in shock. The simple man didn't celebrate. He didn't stand up. He didn't smile. He simply collected his chips and waited. That disconcerted him even more. The sheikh, visibly affected, tried to maintain his composure, but he was no longer the same. Something had been broken there, and the game, which began as a spectacle of humiliation, had transformed into a silent lesson about underestimating those who don't make noise. Asıl? GPT chat screenwriter. The room remained silent for a few seconds, too long to ignore. The sheikh took a deep breath, placed his hands on the table, and with visible effort, straightened his posture. He didn't argue about the result, didn't question the cards, didn't try to make a joke of the defeat. For the first time that night, there was respect in his gaze. A belated respect, perhaps, but genuine. He rose slowly, asked everyone to step aside, and gestured for only the simple man to remain at the table. The audience obeyed, still stunned. The spectacle had ended, but something much greater was about to begin. In a lower voice, without arrogance, the sheikh spoke. He said that this game was never just about money or fun. He confessed that he liked to test people, to put them under pressure, to observe how they reacted when they believed they were at a disadvantage. He admitted that he expected the simple man to give up, beg, or accept the humiliation as so many others had done before. But what he found was someone different, someone who didn't react to the laughter, nor the provocation, nor the exaggerated promise of the mansion. Someone who played the game with dignity, intelligence, and self-control. That, according to him, was rarer than any fortune. The simple man listened in silence, as he had all night. When he finally spoke, his words were few but firm. He said he never sat at that table expecting to win a mansion. He said he accepted the game because he knew who he was, no matter what people thought of him. He said he had already lost a lot in life and learned that respect is not demanded, it is earned. This answer echoed in the empty hall with more force than any bet. The sheikh smiled differently this time, not with superiority, but with recognition. That's when he did something unexpected. Instead of treating the mansion as an isolated prize, he turned it into a proposal. He said he didn't just want to fulfill the bet, but to build something bigger. He talked about business, vision, growth, and partnership. He said he needed someone by his side who knew how to play with a cool head and a firm character. Someone who wouldn't get lost in power or corrupted by humiliation. He offered a partnership, not as a favor, but as a choice. It wasn't charity, it was an alliance. The simple man didn't answer immediately. He walked to the window, looked at the empty hall, the lights reflecting on the polished floor, and thought about the path that had led him there. He thought about how many times he had been underestimated, ignored, discarded. He thought about how many tables he had had to leave before even playing. He turned to the sheikh and accepted. Not for the mansion, not for the money, but for the clarity of that moment. For the certainty that he had gained something far more valuable, true recognition. Months later, the mansion existed, the business thrived. But what truly solidified was the unlikely friendship between two men from opposite worlds. One learned that power without character is empty. The other confirmed that quiet dignity opens doors that arrogance can never reach. And every time someone asked how it all began, neither of them spoke of the mansion. They only spoke of that poker table where the game seemed unequal until the truth was revealed. And if this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone you love too. Click now to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming stories we're preparing with great care for you.